Hi, it's Maya from Realize Style, personal style coach for Melbourne women. Today, I went to a discussion with a panel of employers and recruiters. So we had a Q&A session and this was organised by Fitted for Work. I volunteer once a week at Fitted for Work to help women who are experiencing disadvantage get employment. And so it was great to have a discussion with our recruiters on what they expect from people who apply to work at their companies. So I have a list of things here, and I'm going to try and get through them as quick as possible to not create such a lengthy video. So I may be reading things or explaining things in dot point. Okay, so the representatives that were present at this discussion were recruiters from Thales, which is an engineering company, Medibank or Medibank, Momentum Energy, Medibank, and there was a representative from Smart Recruitment Agency. So I'm going to start to list things. So please, watch this again if you need to and take the pointers that apply to you. So cover letters. Cover letters should be no more than 1 page. Resumes. So, just on the cover letter note, make sure you're addressing the person with the right name and the right job title. There have been cases where people apply for jobs in bulk and then they mix up the names and the job titles, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't say that you're attentive to detail, and honestly, it doesn't look like you even care about the job or the company that you're applying to work for. Resumes. So there were some mixed opinions. Sorry, not sure what that was. Resumes can be between 1.5 and 3 pages long. Jobs that are more technical and entry level, the longer the resume, is not actually that favorable. If you have a, let's see. So the lady from Medibank, she said the first thing she notices on a resume is the formatting and the attention to detail. And then the next thing she looks at is experience. Is the experience on this resume applicable to the role that they're applying for? Sorry about that. Let's see. So if you have a gap in your resume, be honest and give them a genuine reason. You don't need to go into too much detail, and it is something that you can bring up with the recruiter once you've built that rapport and perhaps gone through the telephone interview and whatnot. So everyone's circumstance is different. So applying for a job, and if you give the recruiter a call, be prepared with some clever questions. Be concise and ask them what you want to know and why. And having that initial contact actually helps you be more memorable, and it shows that you're actually genuinely interested in the role. The gentleman from Smart Recruitment Agency, he said that there has been a time where someone had applied for the job online and then they gave him a call, and they said they had recently applied and have some more questions. And what happened was he brings up the file of that application, and then sometimes it actually turns into a telephone interview, which is a big plus if you're saying all the right things. Okay, so what else is there? So these are some random tips. If you're applying for a government job, then you need to address all the key selection criteria. If you don't, your application won't progress. If you're applying for a job you seem to be overqualified for, then try not to include the technical responsibilities of your previous jobs that seem to be more advanced than the one you're applying for. try to list your transferable skills instead. And the lady, I can't remember which company she was representing, she said that sometimes it's actually perfectly fine to explain to the recruiter why you're applying for a role that is that you seem to be overqualified for. I mean, different people go through different phases in life, and sometimes they were up here and they don't want to be there anymore, and they just want something, less. So it's perfectly fine to explain that. But if you don't have that conversation, then they're just left kind of being confused. Let's see. So recruiters shouldn't discriminate applicants based on their age, gender, race, sexual orientation, and whatnot. So just one pointer they mentioned is try not to add the year you went to high school, because that helps them quickly calculate how old you might be. And the lady from Medibank said that they're actually beginning to remove people's names from resumes as they review them, because sometimes people have an unconscious bias towards names as well. Okay, so they talked about photos. So should you submit a photo with your application? They had mixed opinions about this. If you are keen on sending a photo of yourself, particularly if you're in a role such as if you're applying for a role that is customer facing, or perhaps an executive assistant role, then it may have a good impact and actually be, work to your advantage if you present really well. So I was advised not to submit photos of you with friends and family. Don't submit selfies. Submit photos that have good quality, smart professional presentation, and generally a headshot if you are really keen on submitting a photo. Okay, so what to bring to an interview? They mentioned that if you bring notes, prepare some questions, and bring a copy of the job advertisement, your resume, in a folder or compendium, it communicates that you've prepared for the interview and you're actually serious about who you are and the role you're applying for. During the interview, you're welcome to ask them if it's okay to take notes and questions you might want to ask towards the end of the interview. That's perfectly fine. Let's see. Next I have attire. So style, personal image, and how you present yourself. The general consensus was you should always dress on par or dress above the dressiest person in the room. The gentleman from Smart Recruitment mentioned that it's actually good to assume that you may run into the company's CEO. And if you do, you want to make a good impression. So researching the company's image and brand and culture is really important for you to prepare for that. They did mention though, for a role that's a bit more creative or strictly creative, if you turn up in a suit, then you're definitely not going to get hired, because you're out of touch with who they are and the company you want to work for. And it also, in a way, it shows that you're not a good fit for the company. Also, they said you are welcome to call the recruiter and ask what is appropriate to wear to the interview if you're uncertain. So next I have a note about smokers and coffee drinkers. So if you're a smoker or coffee drinker and you've had the smoke or you've had a coffee a bit before the interview, make sure you bring some gum or mints to have before you go into the interview. A note they mentioned, which I think is a very valid one, is that if you're a smoker and you're being interviewed by a non-smoker, then the smell of smoke is actually more overwhelming to them. And you don't want to be remembered as a strong smelling smoker person. Okay, next I have mention about body hygiene and body odor. So if you have body odor and it's really obvious and overwhelming, recruiters may not be comfortable to give you that feedback. And it may be the reason you didn't get the job. And in their experience, there have been people who continually apply for jobs and don't get the job and they're not sure why. To hear that feedback is actually quite harsh in the beginning, but in the long run, it will serve them. So something to be mindful of, and ask for the feedback, or if you have a heart, if you're brave, then give the feedback to people who need it as well. Just the thing on smell again is, don't overpower the room and your interviewers with perfume or cologne. The Medibank representative said that in recent times she's experienced men wearing overpowering colognes to interviews more than women, and not sure why that is. Hopefully they're not trying to just mask potential body odor. So just want to be careful with that. Keep it very light and the scent very personal, and keep it in your comfort zone pretty much. Once you've had the interview, email or call to say thank you. The feedback from the recruiters was that it doesn't happen nearly as often enough anymore, and they really appreciate that. And it really helps you to be memorable after they've gone through heaps and heaps of interviews, and they hear from you again, and then they go, oh, and when they say your name on the emails, perhaps it will actually trigger the conversation in the interview you had, and they actually really appreciate it. So I think that might be the biggest bonus tip in this video, is to send that thank you email or give them a thank you follow-up phone call. And it actually creates more opportunity for the conversation to continue to the successful application and you getting the job that you applied for. Let me know if you have any questions. There were a few more other pointers that I thought was just too much to jam into this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. I'm Maya. Bye.